Second Samuel, don't know if you've heard of it, neither have I. Basically, what's going on is that David, King David, had just come back from wherever he was, and as I'm reading this, it seems as though everything was great, and he just wanted to check in with the 10 concubines, that would be 10 prostitutes, that he left in charge of his palace to see if everything was okay, and they said, yep, everything's okay. And so he didn't have sex with them, and instead he gave them a good place to live. Basically, and okay, yeah. And that's where I got tripped up. So King David had apparently left his palace in the care of these 10 prostitutes. So at this point, David had sons. He had sons, possibly daughters. I don't know. But he definitely had sons, which back in the day kind of were like, the people who were going to take over after him, the people who were expected to be able to pick things up if David didn't do things right as a king, that they would. And he left his palace to 10 prostitutes. This should send a message to his sons about how much he really believes in them, so to speak. And it does send a message to us as the reader about how much you should believe in them, those sons, that is, because as they grew up and became adults, I'm just going to do AB here because once you start using biblical names, people completely lose track of what you're talking about. So one of the king's sons, son A, had a daughter, and she was beautiful. And one of the king's sons, B, fell in love with his brother's daughter. Okay? So he fell in love with his niece, and this guy went to his advisor and was like, hey, advisor, what should I do? I don't know what to do. And the advisor was like, hey, just pretend you're sick and ask for her to come tend to you, basically. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. And so he does. And he goes through all the things. I don't think the advisor meant for this guy to do what he did next, because his niece does come and cook him food and make him feel better as he's pretending to be sick. But then he grabs her and rapes her. And then after that decides he doesn't want her and basically kicks her out. Okay. So his niece naturally goes back to this guy's brother, her father, and it's like, hey, yo, this just happened. And her father is not really that happy about it. But his father, seeing as it's a family matter, doesn't make a stink about it. Instead, he just secretly hates the guy for a long time. Okay? And then whenever the opportunity arises, he has some servants kill the guy. Okay? And then because he's committed murder and he realizes that's not a good thing, he flees. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it turns out that guy's a douchebag too, because after he's forgiven for murdering his brother for raping his daughter, he decides he's going to be king. He's going to be king. He starts going out in the streets, basically pretending to be king, basically constantly insinuating that he would be a better king than his dad, who, by the way, is out dealing with stuff while this is happening, like dealing with kingly things. And his advisor gives him the recommendation that what he should do is sleep with those 10 prostitutes that David left behind. Sleep with them openly so that Israel can see that David's son is being obnoxious to David. In other words, defying him, being disrespectful to the king. Why the hell this advisor advised that? Who knows? But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. I still have no idea how these 10 prostitutes, like, even came in charge of the palace to begin with. But I can guarantee you, it was a message to David's sons that they did not receive.